Hello, it's Miss Summer with our February edition of And It Starts Like This for Teens. Today we have a romantic read called Darkhearts by James Sutter. And the cover says, "Could you love the boy who stole your chance at fame?" We'll read the first chapter of this book, which is a moody, sincere, coming-of-age story that explores the idea of second chances. It's hard to know what to say at a friend's funeral. It's even harder to know what to say at an enemy's. So what do you say when it's both? I chose the coward's way out and said nothing. When the rabbi finished his eulogy and called for stories from the mourners, I stayed silent. Honestly, it would probably have been the right choice, even if I hadn't been chicken. Save for a few texts, I hadn't spoken with Elijah in over 2 years. Who was I to him anymore? It wasn't like there was a dearth of speakers. There were plenty of people who wanted to talk. Family, friends, even a couple other celebrities. They said the sorts of things you always say when a kid dies. He was so bright, so talented, so full of potential. Except in Eli's case, it was actually true. He wasn't just poised to do great things. He'd done them and had the Grammys to prove it. Chance waited until last, of course. Always the showman, never wanting to risk being upstaged, even at his best friend's funeral. He told a story about Eli getting so distracted writing a new song that he accidentally locked himself out of his hotel room in just his underwear. Security caught him trying to climb up to his own balcony, thinking he was some sort of crazed stalker. Everyone laughed through their tears, big sobbing gasps of relief. It was the perfect ending note. But of course it was. Everything about Chance Kane was perfect, from the slim black suit to the asymmetrical flop of his straight black hair. It was what made him America's favorite asshole. The rest of the service was a blur. I kept my distance from most of it, not wanting to intrude. At the cemetery, I joined the other mourners in forming a ring around the family, trying to shield them from the paparazzi waiting like vultures, giant camera lenses balanced on headstones. Then it was back to Eli's parents' house for the Shiva visit, where I took off my shoes and rinsed my hands with the pitcher of water outside the door. If the temple had been awkward, the house itself was stifling. Eli's parents and sister shook my hand, but their eyes were far away. All the mirrors were covered with black cloth, which I knew was another Jewish tradition, but just reminded me of the whole Darkhearts vampire shtick. Nobody really spoke, other than brief murmurs of sympathy and muffled tears. When standing around in their living room got too uncomfortable, I found myself drifting away without really intending to. Nobody noticed as I wandered past the bathroom and down the stairs, retracing the route that had once been second nature. The furniture in the rec room was right where it had always been, minus only the black bulk of the PA speakers on their spindly stick stands. The lights were off, and the afternoon sun, coming through the big picture window, was so achingly familiar that it stabbed straight through me, pinning me to the bottom of the stairs. Weird, huh? I turned to find Chance tucked into the corner of the old couch, sprawled with his tailored jacket unbuttoned and legs outstretched. Even with his eyes red from crying, he looked like a cologne ad, whereas I looked like exactly what I was, a 17-year-old acneed ogre wearing his dad's suit. At some point in the last 2 years, Chance had gotten a tattoo, a tiny silhouette of a crow in flight, just below and outside his right eye, because of course he had. He was holding a vape pen, but the lack of candy floss stink said he knew better than to use it in here. He waved it vaguely at the room. It's all the same. He looked up at the ceiling where the footsteps of mourners clumped and dragged. Up there, outside, everything's different. But in here, it's like we're still 14. I didn't want to have this conversation. Didn't want to have any conversation with him. But my mouth had other ideas. Almost, I said. He raised a professionally groomed eyebrow. I pointed past him. They fixed the drywall. Oh shit, you're right. He laughed, leaning forward and staring at the spot where the hole had been. I'd forgotten about that. You jumped off the coffee table and put your guitar's headstock straight through the wall. Only because Eli ran into me. I smiled in spite of myself. We tried to cover it with that poster from the Vera Project. Yeah, because that wasn't suspicious at all. Just one little poster on a giant black wall. He pulled a knee up to his chest, revealing a flash of purple dress sock with tiny black skulls. I was sure his mom would kill us for that one. Or remember when we got all those people to come film the video and someone backed up the toilet? I nodded. The punami. There was like an inch of water in the carpet. My parents would have had me in boarding school like that. He snapped his fingers. But Eli? His voice cracked and he fell silent. There were no tears, but I could see a muscle working in his jaw. Yeah. Eli had been able to talk his parents into anything. I sat down on the other arm of the couch, not looking at him, the old perch still so natural. Hey, remember Mrs. Miller? He pointed at the neighboring house across the tiny backyard, his tone artificially light. Always banging on the door and yelling at us to turn down. Remember what she always used to say? My father played with Louis Armstrong. If he didn't need to be this loud, neither do you. It had been a running joke between the three of us. Whenever someone flubbed a note or was too loud in the mix, we'd throw something at them. A guitar pick, a couch cushion, and yell, Louis Armstrong. Eventually it had become an all-purpose battle cry, our own private yeet. We both fell silent, staring out the window. When he spoke again, his voice was tight. We had some good times here, huh? Yeah, I repeated. Another long silence. Suddenly, Chance kicked the coffee table, heel slamming into the wooden corner and spinning it halfway around. God damn it, Eli! He covered his face with his hands. I still had no idea what to say. I just wish he'd talk to me. The words were muffled, reverberary. He pulled his hands away, blinking rapidly. I knew he was drinking too much, that he was tired of touring, but everyone gets tired of touring. I didn't know. He took a shuddering breath, then stood. He pulled the table back into place, then pocketed his vape and walked to the stairs. At the bottom, he turned to take a last look around the room, searching it for an answer. "Damn it, Eli," he said again, softer. "How could you just leave us?" Then he was up the stairs and gone. I let out a breath. My hands unclenched, and I was suddenly flooded with gratitude that chance had left when he did. I knew he was hurting, and as much as he pissed me off, I didn't want to make it worse. But if he'd stayed another minute, I might not have been able to keep holding my tongue, because I knew the answer to his rhetorical question. How could Eli leave him behind? The same way you both left me. I hope you enjoyed the first chapter of Darkhearts by James Sutter. And if it sounds like a book you might be interested in, then come on over to the library and check it out, or give us a call and we'll put it on hold for you. We'll see you next month in March.